So first of all, just wanted to start with what Pearson Mathology is. So just give me 1 second here. So Mathology is actually a combination of a bunch of pieces. So there's the, oops, just let me get this out of the way. So Mathology.ca is the digital component for Mathology, but Mathology has print components and activity cards, which we'll get to later. But the purpose of this was to show basically Mathology.ca and how it works and what things it can do for you. So it really is based around sort of 5 main themes. So the ability to do some long-term and short-term planning about what curriculum we're going to teach and in what order, basic, scope, and sequence. The teaching process, so being able to prepare activities for your kids and how you're going to teach them in class. An easy-to-do assessment function that allows you to assess the kids as you're walking around the class or later on that basically does some of the collecting for you, and you just do sort of the assigning of the students to the right place. There's a reporting system, so as you assess the kids and put them in the place you thought they were in during those activities, we keep track of the data from a curriculum point of view and a Pearson learning progression point of view. And sorry, I'm just going to move this out of the way. And the last is professional learning. So as we go through Mathology, you'll see that built into each of the activities or lessons, we've also included some professional learning assets and wisdom for the teacher as they go through the lesson. So Mathology, as I said, is a group of components that work together seamlessly. So there's the Mathology activity kit, which some of you guys may have seen. I'm not sure where everybody is in their Mathology journey at this point. So the activity kit are laminated student and teacher activity cards that cover all the strands and all the curriculum from grade 1 at the moment. It's currently available for grade 1 and grade 2, and for grade 1 in French, and I believe grade 2 in French soon. The Mathology Little Books are little math readers that cover K to 3 and are available as separate printed material, printed books. You can order them separately, and they also come with Mathology.ca, as do the contents of the classroom activity kit. Then there's Pearson's Mathology.ca, which is the digital component of Mathology and which contains basically all of the other pieces in a digital format. And lastly is the Pearson learning progression. So all of Mathology is built on top of Pearson's learning progression, which is a developmental progression that you'll see again in Mathology.ca as we go through the presentation. And lastly, professional learning that sort of underpins all of the activities and all of the things that you'll see in Mathology. So I'm going to go and show you sort of the big 5 features. So when you're in Mathology.ca, it's basically built around sort of 5 things. The ability to search for lessons or activities that you could use in your classroom, the ability to plan, sort of organize and collect those activities and put them in a logical order for you guys to use in your day-to-day teaching. The actual teaching component, so the physical cards, if you have the box, or if you're in Mathology.ca, the digital activity cards give you activities to do with the students. Gives you all of the components that go with those activities, like line masters and interactives that you could use to assess and track. So basically, as you're doing these lessons or activities in the classroom, you have an ability to quickly keep track of where you think your students are, and we provide some back-end reporting based on how you're assessing your students. And then professional learning. Each of the activities comes with at least one professional learning video, plus a bunch of professional learning and teacher supports that are built into the teacher's card themselves. So it's aligned to Canadian curricula and our Pearson learning progression. It's pedagogically sound, and it's rich math activities with pedagogical supports. So let's actually dive into Mathology.ca and take a peek. So Daniel reminded me to tell you who I am. I'm not Daniel Coe, as my video says. I'm Jeff Adams, and I'm the Director of Digital Solutions for Pearson's K-12 group. And I worked to help build Mathology.ca. So we're going to jump into Mathology.ca and give you guys a quick tour of what it does. So when you log into Mathology.ca, when we set up an account for you, we know which province that you come from. So when you get to the very first screen, you have basically a bunch of choices about how you want to enter the Mathology world. Do you want to search for activities about counting? You just type it in. Do you want to look through your provincial curriculum and find activities that way? And because I'm signed in as Ontario, I would see the Ontario curriculum. If I happen to be signed in as an Alberta teacher, which this screen is, I would see the Alberta curriculum. So you're able to search through your provincial curriculum for lessons and activities. So you can scroll down, and anything that has a green magnifying glass you can click on, and you can actually find lessons that will go along with that expectation or outcome, depending which province you're in. Or as I said, you can type in a keyword count and you can press search, and you will get all the lessons in Mathology.ca that revolve around counting. The last option to search and find things is the learning progression. So as I said, the Pearson learning progression, the developmental progression we've assembled, is also linked into Mathology.ca. So if you want to look from a developmental point of view instead of a curriculum point of view, you can go into our learning progression by strand, by conceptual thread, and you can search for some of the targets in this particular thread. And again, if you find a green magnifying glass, you can click on it and find activities that are specifically going to support that area of the learning progression that we just looked at. So that's 3 ways you can find lessons quickly. The other option is plan. So we also have a planning tool that comes with Mathology.ca, and it comes in 2 forms. So we've actually built plans for you already. So you can see that when you load the planning section up, we've created a bunch of sample plans for you to look at. Just going to scroll through the other ones first. So there's sample plans. There's 3 different options of what a sample plan can look like, 3 different paths you can take from a scope and sequence point of view through Mathology.ca. So if you, instead of searching for stuff, you want to just follow a plan, you can click that. And you'll see on the left are all of the sort of folders for your plan and the order that those folders are in. And then on the right-hand side are the lessons and activities that go along with it. You can take any of these plans and use them as is, or you can actually make your own plan as well. So this is the sample plans that come with it, which is a complete scope and sequence from September to June, and all of the pieces across all the strands. That's one option. There's a couple other options of sample plans you can use. There's some weekly plans that we provide for operational fluency and geometry. Just take a quick peek at another long-range plan. There's just a different view of that plan. And this plan includes your activity cards and your math little books that are included in Mathology.ca. And lastly, you can create your own plan. So as a teacher, you can actually use one of our plans as your template to build other plans, or you can just go in and create your own folders and drag your own lessons into your plan. So you have sort of three key ways of looking for information. You can either do a keyword search, you can look by curriculum or progression, or you can go straight to one of our sample plans and find a complete scope and sequence for your grade level. This is currently grade 1. That's what's currently available in Mathology.ca. So I'm just going to jump in and click Show All Lessons. And that will show you all of the math little books and all of the activity cards that are included in Mathology.ca grade 1. That's 135. You have some sorting options in here, so you can sort by grade if you happen to be a split grade teacher, and we'll offer you more than just the first grade worth of content. You can sort by what type of activity, if it's a consolidation activity, a little book, and you can also sort by strand. So if you're just looking for something in number or measurement. All of the lessons have a fairly similar structure, so you can just scroll down and you get a sort of a quick overview of the results of your search, and you get a quick idea of what the activity might look like from a student point of view. This is sort of a student blind master. This is an activity card for the student. And when you find the one that you want to look at, you click on it. And the activities are basically structured in the same way. So they have 4 tabs at the top: about, details, assessment, and related resources. So this is the about section, which gives you some information about what the activity is, a little bit of content background, the math focus that this particular activity is targeting on, the link to your specific provincial curriculum. So again, if you were in Alberta or British Columbia or Northwest Territories, or you would see your specific curriculum connections show up here. You would also see any cross-curricular connections. If there were any connections to other strands, they would appear. Your processes or competencies, again, your provincial processes and competencies are also connected, so you'll quickly be able to see which of those they cover, this particular activity covers. And lastly, you'll see which part of the Pearson learning progression that this activity is targeted at. So in this case, it's always shown in the middle, but as a teacher, you're always allowed to go and see what came before. So if this is sort of where we're aiming this activity to be, you can see where kids came from on the developmental path to get to this. And you can also see where they're going after this particular activity is done. This particular activity has 2 actual concepts built into it. That's why there's sort of 2 different parts of the learning progression. The details page is basically your digital version of those activity cards, those laminated activity cards that come in your activity box. And so they basically have sort of the same structure as the activity cards. They look a little bit different, but I can show you exactly what they look like in a sec. So the very top part are all of the other digital pieces you need to support this particular activity. So line masters, assessment masters potentially, and physical materials like counters or linking cubes. It'll tell you exactly what you need for this particular activity. The cards are broken into sort of 3 sections. There's the instruction section, the consolidation section, and the what to look for section. So this gives you some idea of how to teach the lesson, how to consolidate the lesson, and as you're teaching it, what things should you be looking for. Also includes some prompting questions. So here's some probing questions that you can ask the kids as you're working through this activity together. The learning highlights video, so as I said, every activity comes with one of these learning highlight video. There'll be other videos that will be added in as we go along for sort of higher level professional development. But at the moment, the learning highlights video supports this particular activity. And I'll just pop it up and show you what these look like. And hopefully you can hear.
Observe the strategies and tools your students are using to find a total. Do they model each number with counters, then count all the counters by ones? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do they count on from the number on one of the salmon cards, using fingers to track the count? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. How often do your students rely on a make 5 or make 10 strategy?
Okay, so I'll just give you a brief intro. That's one of the videos. And again, there's a video that it comes with every one of these activity cards that supports how you can use it in the classroom. All of the physical cards that come in the activity box look like this. So they're also included in Mathology.ca, so you can bring them up and project them on the screen. So it includes the teacher card, the back of the teacher card, which is where the assessment is done, and all of the student cards that come with Mathology as well, and examples of what the student cards look like when they're being used in a class. And you can print these or project them as needed. And lastly, any interactive, so we have some block tools and counter tools that you can use for some of these activities, and they're connected right at the bottom as well. So everything in one place for you to teach this operational fluency activity. Okay, so I'm just going to stop for a second because I noticed that there's some questions here. Can you share plans with other teachers? So good question. Let me go back to the planning section. So when I'm in my plan and I open one of the plans that I made, there's a choice up here that has several options. You can actually see how much of the curriculum your plan is covering. You can see all of the materials you're going to need to teach all of the things that you've put in your plan, so all the physical materials, all the line masters, and you have the ability to share it. So anybody who's part of your license, so if your district buys a license for all the teachers at grade 1, or your school buys a license, anyone who's tied to that license, you can share it with. You click share, the teacher's name show up, you click the teacher who you want to send it to, and you click OK. And it shows up in their plan at the very bottom in a section called shared plans. So they'll show up in your plan when someone shares it to you, and then you can take that plan and edit it or make changes. Okay. All of the math little books from the student side are included in Mathology.ca. For grade 1, you get the grade K and 1 math little books, and for grade 2, you'll get the grade 1 and 2 math little books. But all the student math little books are available on our website as well. The teacher versions of the math little books are purchased separately. Okay. So I'm just going to go back into one of our lessons here. So we've gone through sort of the about section where you get all your curriculum information and your progression links and some background. The details, which is that digital version of the activity page that comes in the activity box. The assessment page, so this is where you actually do some assessment with your kids. So when you start in Mathology.ca, you create a classroom and you create some students. All you have to do is put in their first and last name. There's no registration process. And you get what is basically represented on the back of the teacher card. So on the back of the teacher card is basically sort of a what to look for matrix. So you're looking at the possible behaviors you could see happening in your classroom as you're teaching the lesson. So in this case, student does not associate the skip counting number with a quantity. And as you progress to the right and then down to the right, the students are getting closer to having developed that skill. So this would be more of a beginning to develop, and this would be sort of more fully developed for this particular activity. And the way this works is as you're walking around, you see what's happening in class, you grab your kids and you put them in the boxes you think match what you're seeing behavior-wise in the classroom. And once you've got the kids in there, you can make notes about, how they did or what they need to work on. You can also, the powerful part for me is that as well, because we've now sort of put students in a place where we understand what we were seeing when they were doing the activities, we have some ability to sort of provide you with what to do next. So now that you know Jeff is in this is exactly what he was doing in class, what can I do for Jeff to move him sort of to the next box, and the box is further down. So if I click that, for some activities, I'll just get something I can do quickly in the moment. So there's the step for that. For other boxes, you will get, let me see if I can find one. You'll get a little in the moment step, plus you'll also be linked to a mini lesson that will support intervention, on grade, or extension activities. So because the student is in box 3, so they're kind of in that, middle part, they haven't developed, but they're not, they haven't fully developed it, but they're not beginning to develop. They get an intervention, but as you get further out in the boxes, you would start to get extension activities for kids who are in box 6 because they've already sort of mastered that particular skill, and we want to extend to something more. So that's basically all you do to assess your kids. Just drag and drop. And if you come back to this activity in class the next day or 2 weeks later, and you've really seen a change in Ioana's behavior, what she's actually doing in class for the same activity, you can just drag Ioana to the next box that you now show Ioana in. Okay. So because we're actually capturing this information as you drag it in. We know which curriculum connections this particular activity covered. We also know which learning progression connections that this activity covered, and we know that for each of these 6 boxes that are on the back of the card. So we also provide basic analytics that tracks this for you. So as you're putting those kids, dragging them in the box, it's keeping track from a class view and a student view of all of the lessons that you've assessed, where your students are at, where the sort of distribution is in terms of the boxes. Are they more to the right? Are they more to the left? Are they more to the middle? You'll see sort of a yellow if they're bunched in the middle. You'll see a green if they're sort of more on the right end. And you'll see red if most of the students are in the sort of first boxes at the beginning to develop stage. So you can see that by class, or you can actually go and look at it by student. So we can look at Amber and look at the activities we've assessed for Amber and see that he's sort of in the beginning to develop section for most of them. And then if we want to go deeper, we can click details and we can see the actual box that he was in. And we can go right back to the activity assessment for Amber if we think we want to write some comments, or he's made, he's not there anymore because we've seen him do other things, and we can, move Amber to a different box or write some comments. The analytics comes in 3 different views. You can look at the analytics strictly from an activity point of view, all the activities that Amber has done, or you can look at it from the curriculum point of view. So these are all the curriculum connections that you've assessed for. So as you're dropping those students in the box, it's keeping track of which expectations or outcomes that you've actually covered. And that works when you want to see more detail, you just expand the box and you can see which activity belongs with which of the curriculum expectations or outcomes. You can also see this in an advanced view. So these are currently sort of the general outcomes or general expectations. And if you want to see the specific expectations, you can go to the detailed curriculum view. Also, you can look from that learning progression point of view. So if you want to see from a developmental point of view where your students are being grouped or where Amber is being placed, you can look in this view and you can see exactly where which box that Amber was in for that particular activity. And you can export this to Word, or you can print these out for the student. Okay. So I'm just going to go back to my lesson here and show you the last part. So the last tab, Related Resources, is where we have all the other things that you can use to go along with this activity. So we have the mini lessons that you saw referenced in the Next Step button. There's usually an on-grade lesson, couple intervention lessons, and an extension lesson or activity for the students. So if you need to do more than one thing and differentiate for some of the kids in your class, you have options built in, again, right to this lesson. There's a section on possible misconceptions. So what is it that they might not understand completely when they come in to do this activity? There's suggestions for things you can do at home, or other things you can do in class. There's a word wall that keeps the vocabulary for this math lesson, which also has pictures if they're required. And lastly are all of the other lessons in Mathology.ca that relate to the lesson you were just teaching. So in this case, other counting lessons, as well as the Math Little Books. So this is a Math Little Book that goes along with these counting activities. And you can search through here, find something you want to use, click on it, and the Math Little Book will open up as well. In very similar format, has the same kind of structure. So Math Little Books have an About page, again with your curriculum connections and your learning progression connections. And it has the details page where you can actually launch the little Math Little Book student version and work through that. And it has some another resources section where all of the associated line masters and other pieces that you need to teach using this little book are available, as well as other, again, related other little books or other lessons. So I'm going to stop there again and see if I have any questions here. So anybody have any questions they want to ask, or things they want to go over a little more deeply, or? I think, David, you had a question at the beginning about dates. So the next grades of Mathology that are coming out will be grades 3 and grade 4. That will be in 2020. I don't have the dates for grades 5 and 6 yet. And Mathology is also available in French. So Mathology.ca French for grade 1 will be out in September, as will the English for Mathology.ca grade 2 will also be out in September. Sure. So somebody asked about the digital manipulatives. As I said, in all of the lessons where there's a digital manipulative available in the detail section, we will have tools that are available. So this is a 100 chart tool. And again, they pop up in the separate window. You can use them at the front of class on a smartboard with your kids. You can use them at a station if you've logged in for the kids and have an iPad ready for them. And there's about, there's about 100 of these we built. So they're available for most of the lesson. There's at least 1 or 2 of these tools that are available. And I'll just go back and show you the other part. So you'll notice all of the lessons or the activities have a heart button, whether you're seeing that when you're inside the lesson or if you're actually searching for lessons. So that's a favorite function. So if you find something that you really like and you want to use again, or you want to use the next day, you can click the heart to add it to your favorites. When you go into your favorites, it's broken into 3 pieces. Pinned lessons. So these are the lessons that you can pin to the start page so that when you come in, you can get to these things right away. So I'm going to unpin that one because you can only have 3. And I'm going to say, you know what, I want the operational fluency number line to be pinned to my start screen. And when I come here, now that activity is on my start screen as well. Also, you can create non-Mathology lessons. So the last section here are non-Mathology lessons. So that is a link to any other URL, or just if you want to create your own lesson title and lesson description. So, for example, one of the teachers said that they take the kids outside and they count the cars in the parking lot, and then they count the ones that are different color. So she created a counting cars lesson and put the description of that lesson in here. So just and I'm keeping this short, so don't laugh. And then if there's an associated URL, that could be a link to a ministry website, it could be a link to YouTube, it could be a link to any sort of URL that you're able to get to, including Google Drive links if you are a Google customer, are available there. And then when you save this, you have your own lesson for counting cars, which you can actually add to your plan. So if I'm going to go to my plan now, and I want to add somebody, see if they see it, probably not. There's my counting cars lesson. So I can actually just drag and drop that and put it in my plan. Okay. And now I can put that anywhere I want, but and it will tell me, I can what I'm doing. It'll have a description, and if there was a link, there would be a link here where when I click it, that website would come up. So we don't actually let you upload anything, but you can link to anything you like. In terms of split grade, that's a really good question. I think that was from Ivana. So we are working on some features in the system to provide support for split grade. So as I mentioned earlier, when you actually sign up for Mathology, if you're a split grade teacher, we'll be able to allow you to select the two grades that you're teaching, so that you'll end up with being able to search the curriculum by both grades. So you can go from grade 1 to grade 2 or grade 3 or grade 4. You can add both into your plans. When you're in a lesson that's a grade 1 lesson, you go to the related items section, you will see grade 2 lessons and potentially kindergarten lessons, so that you have a range of support a little bit above and a little bit below the grade level you're teaching. So if you're a grade 1 teacher, you might see kindergarten, a few kindergarten activities, all of your grade 1 and grade 2 activities, and maybe even a few of the grade 3 activities as well. So you have support sort of across the board. Other than that, we're looking at other ways of supporting split grade teachers. There is actually a split grade tab in the lessons, but at the moment it's just hidden because we haven't designed what's going to go in there yet. That's partly because at the moment we only have grade 1. We won't have grade 2 until September. So anybody else have any questions or comments or? Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I did, but Mathology.ca will be available in French as well, both the content and the interface. So I'm just going to sign out of here so I can just show you what I mean. So the content, the actual French activities and the math little books in French are all going to be available for grade 1 for September 2019. And it will look something like this. So it's actually called Mathology, but you'll be able to search your curriculum in French or English. All of the activities will show up in French or English, and all of the entire environment will be in French. And lastly, I just did want to show you one more thing before I'm done. I don't know if you noticed, but when I was at the very first page to sign in, we also support signing in with Google or Outlook. So if you're a Google board or a Microsoft board, instead of having to, if you're already logged into your cloud or your classroom and you have an account in Mathology or you've registered already, so I think I'm logged into my email cloud here. We use Google. So if you just click Google, you're signed in automatically. So once you're signed into your cloud or your email, or if you're on a Chromebook, once you're signed into your Chromebook, you get into Mathology without another sign-in. And you can do that both for Outlook customers, for Microsoft customers, and for Google customers. And that's available now. That's live now. Okay, just waiting to see if there's any more questions. No more questions? Okay. One last time, anybody? So if you have no more questions, then we'll just we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much for coming. I know for some of you it's late into the evening. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can email us at help.mathology.ca anytime, and we can answer any questions you have. And yeah, go ahead. Looks like there's one more question from Daniel. When you purchase, yeah, Mathology.ca is a separate purchase from the activity kits. So if you want access to Mathology.ca, you'd have to contact your rep. You can, however, get a 45-day trial right now. So if you're interested in signing up, just go to our website and for Mathology, www.mathology.ca, and you can click the sign up button and start a 45-day trial. And you have full access to the grade 1 content and all the features. Is there contact for Northwest Territories? I believe you would contact your Alberta rep. So you could contact on the screen Lisa Vant or Lisa Martin. Or sorry, Lisa Vant, reading the wrong one. Okay, so thank you again for coming, and I think that ends the presentation for tonight. Have a nice evening, everyone.